So I think we can start. So hello everyone once again. Welcome to Kazakhstan American Corners program. Today our third session, an American Corner Kazakhstan English Teacher Professional Development Series. We are so excited to have all of you. Thank you for joining us today. Thanks for staying this beautiful evening with us. So my name is Aseli, American Corner Kazakhstan Network Coordinator. And today we will talk about effective reflective practice for English language teachers and learners. Also, I would like to remind you that this session duration is 60 minutes. Stay tuned to the end and let's be active on the chat as you always be. And now I would like to remind you about some rules. First, for stable connection, turn off your microphone when you are not using it. Second, if you have any questions, you can ask them in the chat box. Third one, don't be shy and be active. As the meeting is recorded, it will be available on our YouTube channel. And the fifth and the last, attend at least 4 out of 5 sessions to receive an official certificate. So now let's hand over to the virtual English language fellow of United States program, August Garnsey. Welcome, August. We are so happy to have you here with us.
All right. Well, thank you, Asiel. So definitely thank you very much for the warm introduction. And hello, good evening. I guess I could say Salametsve, Privyet, hello, fellow English teaching professionals all across Kazakhstan. Very nice to see everyone again. For those returning and joining us again, great to see everyone. For those that are joining for the first time with our webinar series, we welcome you. Great. We're glad to have you here. As Asil mentioned before, about muting because, we have a very large number of participants. Unfortunately, we just can't have everybody talking all the time. So we do ask you guys to mute, but we do want you to be very active in the chat. I'll be posting and proposing some questions to you throughout the presentation, and I'll be asking for your responses through the chat. So we'll be active and we'll be able to collectively build some knowledge. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and yeah, we can go and get started. All right, let's see, okay. All right, and still everything's coming through okay, right?
Right.
All right, great. So yeah, so as Asiel mentioned, we're focusing on reflective practices for English language teachers and learners tonight. So joining me, I have a very special invited guest from Almaty, Gulnur Almabayeva. She will be joining and presenting after I finish my part of the presentation in this webinar here. So she'll be joining us just shortly. So in this webinar, we're going to be collectively building, an understanding of what is reflective practices, and also be able to gather some effective questions that could, assist us in reflection for teachers, acquire a practical model for a holistic approach to reflective practices, and also be able to obtain some digital and online resources to use in reflective applications, as well as some methods as well for that. So for those of you that are new, that do not know of me, I am the English language fellow here in Nur Sultan. My name is August Garnsey, and you can contact me via email. You can follow me as well at Instagram. You can see august.garnsey. Some of the things I do, if you guys are wondering, what is an English language fellow? So I am partnered and I teach at Eurasian National University here in Nur Sultan in the Foreign Languages Theory and Practice Department. I work with basically pre-service and in-service teachers, so graduate students, undergraduate students as well. I also work with teenagers across Kazakhstan in the English Access Micro Scholarship Program, as well as one of my most favorite things, like I always mention all the time, my work here with American Corners and Makerspace Nursultan, as well as the entire American Corners Kazakhstan network. Now, before being in Nursultan, I've been here a couple months now, and it's great to be back in Kazakhstan, taking a year off being in the US. But previously, before this, I was living in Kokshetau because I was a international English teacher for Nazarbayev Intellectual Schools there. All right, and again, please ask everyone to mute your microphones for any kind of other background noises or anything else that could potentially interfere with the presentation. So again, ask you please if you guys can mute yourselves. Okay, thank you. All right. So, and also before we go any further, just got to let you guys know that by attending this event, you basically consent to be photographed. And this can be included in digital, print media to promote various exchange programs or other public diplomacy efforts with the US Embassy or the Regional English Language Office here, or in the English language programs through which I participate in as a fellow. All right, so we're going to start here with a poll. Okay, so very simple question, but maybe might be kind of, you're not sure about it. So let's see. The question is, did you stop and reflect for at least 2 minutes today? It doesn't sound like a lot of time, but again, at least 2 minutes where you actually stopped and you actually focused on something, not like while you're multitasking and you're thinking about, I got things to do. That doesn't quite count. So where you literally stopped doing what you were doing and you reflected for a couple minutes at least. We're going to do this through Mentimeter. So if I can ask every one of our participants to go to menti.com, you don't need to register or anything like that. Okay. There's a code you can see. I got it in yellow, 7160420. Asiel, maybe can you put this in the chat for everybody?
Yeah, sure. Just a moment.
Thank you. Yeah, so menti.com, and there's the 7-digit code, and that's all you need to put in, and it's going to prompt you for your response. It's either yes, no, or not sure. You got 3 choices. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and pull up the interactive presentation slide using Mentimeter, and let's take a look and see collectively here, did we reflect at least for 2 minutes today? Okay, all right. So as we build participants, I see that, about a quarter of us have responded to that one. So I'll give you guys another minute or so here to be able to get your responses in, so that way we can see. And again, here, Satwise, you can see at the very top of the slide, again, menti.com, use that code 7160420. Okay, all right. So I'm looking here at the results. So participants, what can you guys say about the results here? What can you infer from this donut display of whether or not we reflected for at least 2 minutes today or not? So maybe you can put into the chat, what can you say about our group as a whole here? What do you notice about the group? So let's take a look here in the chat. And what do we notice here? So you can put into the chat, what do you notice about our group? What can you say? I see 28 yeses. I see 8 not sure. I see 10 no's. Said most teachers are reflective. Okay. We are quite cognitive and reflective, most because we are teachers. We know it. It's in our profession. It's told to us. We know that it's important. Okay. Also, I see some say that not everyone takes a chance to reflect. Yeah. It says, okay. Maybe not everybody even gets a chance to even think within the day with our busy schedules that we have all the time. And yeah, that definitely can be quite true. So yeah, so when you look at this number, sure, you can see that, you can say that a majority of us, at least for a couple minutes today, reflected on some aspects, some experience today. But you could also see that, of the respondents here, almost about 50 respondents, that, a big portion of us either did not do it or we're not even quite sure that we did actually reflect. We think we may have, things are chaotic throughout our day. So that's kind of interesting to think about. So we're all doing SAT at work, no time for reflecting. That's true. Sometimes it's just, when do you find the time in your day to be able to reflect? Okay, these are good questions. So, but thank you everybody for your participation with that interactive poll there. And it's good to see that, that majority of us like that are taking at least 2 minutes out of our busy days to be able to reflect on some kind of an experience. Okay. Okay. All right. And Ciel, do you see my slide again back where it says, what do you say?
Yep.
All right. So guys, so let's kind of build some knowledge here collectively amongst all of us. So what do you say? Here's the first question. And there's two questions. This is the first one. What is reflection and the purpose? So in your own words, it doesn't matter if it's a simple response. You don't have to give like a really detailed response, but in the chat, go ahead and put, what do you think is reflection and the purpose of reflection? See how a lot of us seem to maybe reflect throughout the day. So what is it and what's the point of it? So guys, so let's take a look here at the chat. Let's take a look here and see what we're saying. Let's see here. Okay. I see lots of great responses in here from before. All right. Okay. We got all kinds of stuff here. Some reflections. I seen Padlo. Okay. Padlo. I see more questions about Padlet. Okay. Don't stop reflecting. Those are good. All right. So what is reflection? Analyze what you've done, to analyze, to analyze. I definitely see that word mentioned multiple times. To analyze, develop. Okay. I see mixing, examining ourselves. Okay. Examination. An opinion formed or remark made after careful thoughts. Depends on whether you succeed or otherwise. Okay, I see the word improvement. Okay, stop and think, feedback. Okay, conclusion of your thoughts. See, reflection of students and teachers helps to plan further steps. Oh, okay. Future application of things. Okay, okay, systematic teaching, flashbacks, all right, evaluation. So we're seeing a lot of kind of keywords here like analyze, develop, feedback, evaluation. I'm seeing some keywords that are being mentioned multiple times. And yeah, I mean, and definitely, analyze is definitely a key word when it comes to reflection and what is it and what's the purpose of it. So now, how about the second question here, guys? So think about this. The next question is, so what do you know about reflective practices? Or maybe more supposed, like, what do you do? Okay. So if you got maybe an example of something that you'd like to share, maybe some way that you do it, a method, go ahead and let's put this in the chat. We got over 100 participants. We got a lot of experience here amongst us. So that way, yeah, let's go ahead and let's collectively gather this information and share with each other. Okay, so go and put your responses into the chat, everyone. All right. Okay. Okay, so read around the topics you are learning about or want to learn about and develop. Okay. Okay, so again, so what do you know about reflective practices and what do you do? There you go. All right, let's see here. revise what I've done, okay? What was my goal? What I feel about? Oh, take a cup of coffee and relax. Yes, yes, that important tea break. All right, I've definitely experienced that in Kazakhstan. So yes, that's a definitely coffee or tea. Watch what is going on around you. Okay, okay. So observe things, digest information, okay? Thinking about what I've done before going to sleep. Is it correct? What have I learned today? Okay. Ask questions about the theme we have learned. Okay. Meditation. All right. That's an excellent. I say it's a good response. Aims and objectives, procedure of the lesson, whether they were successful. Okay, excellent. You go through the things you liked, worked well, what didn't work, analyze why it didn't work and way you planned. Okay, ask correct questions. No, that's an important, that's a good response. I said, ask correct questions. Okay, that's important about what kind of questions we're going to ask ourselves. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you guys for those responses. I really appreciate that. Again, we have over 150 participants here joining us tonight from all over. Some of us are from even other parts of Central Asia, which we definitely welcome those from outside Kazakhstan too, as well, from Central Asia that are joining us. But a lot of great responses. Thank you, participants, for those responses. So now moving forward, to kind of touch upon what, I think everybody was kind of hinting at and saying about is basically a lot of us all agree that teaching ain't easy. That's like a slogan on a bumper sticker on the back of a car, teaching ain't easy. And we all know that, right? And typically, we think about, self-reflection, and we think about, okay, what works, what doesn't in our classroom, in our lessons, what we're doing. We use this reflective teaching, to be able to evaluate and be able to focus maybe a little bit more so on what works. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the time, we can't get past the negativity. And let's just be honest, we're all human. We do that, and we tend to be results oriented. A lot of times we focus on always the what, and often it's hard to just kind of see past what didn't go right. So, okay, and I'll be honest, I've been there too, and it's difficult. And I have a model that I'm going to share with you in a few minutes that I think can help kind of transcend negativity as well too. So, so why does it matter so much for teachers? Think about this. I mean, we've mentioned about, you're thinking about your lessons to improve, you're analyzing, trying to develop, for feedback, you're trying to reflect on things for yourself. But there's one kind of key thing that I'm thinking about that no one actually really mentioned yet in the chat. And this is kind of a key thing that when I think about reflection, I think about this. Now, if you look back through the chat, and you're going to kind of see a lot of kind of, similar maybe words or responses about, the purpose or point of reflection. But think about this here. Reflective teachers are more likely to develop reflective learners, right? It's contagious, right? Our attitude, what we do, it's contagious. It spreads to our learners. And, if it's more instinctive for us to reflect, some of us, we weren't sure if we reflected even in the day for just 2 minutes. It's like we know it as professionals, we're supposed to, we try to, we can find the time for it, but we want it to be very instinctive. We want it to show instinctively in our lessons. And when it does show instinctively in our lessons, this is going to spread to our learners. And it's going to effectively encourage them more to reflect and analyze and evaluate and improve on their own learning. Because here's the key, all of this basically equals independent learners, learner autonomy. And we want our learners to become more independent. And through our own improved and more effective own teaching, reflective practices, this is going to show in our lessons. And therefore, they're going to be able to become more independent learners. They're going to pick up on this with much more consistency in your lessons. And another key point that nobody actually mentioned, and I'm always big with, teacher-to-teacher engagement and trying to facilitate for professional development. Also reflection helps to give us those moments and those times where we can just focus on aspects of teacher-to-teacher engagement, or things like just becoming more proactive, our communication, our support, heck, even our pride in what we do as professionals. And reflection is a moment where we can think about that. Okay. And I have a few websites here for some, if you guys are thinking about, people always ask me about opportunities. I always like to share opportunities at some point. I'll put these links into the chat after I'm done. Links for the online professional English network, for Relo's Facebook page, for other exchange or opportunities available through the U.S. Embassy in Nursultan here, and as well as American English for Educators. Lots of opportunities out there for you guys to reflect on and to take advantage of. So now I'm looking at the time here, okay, and I have a little bit more some time before I pass it over to my special invited guest speaker, Gulnur. But let me actually just ask a couple questions here into the chat again. And in the chat before, previously, when I asked that question about kind of like what you do, in the chat, I saw someone mentioned about questions, like effectively asking ourselves the right questions in order to reflect better on certain experiences. So here's a typical kind of category. If we try to categorize questions of reflective practice, what about like for classroom management? Okay, maybe in the chat, guys, go ahead and put what kind of questions would you ask yourself regarding your classroom management, your interaction, your involvement, with your learners. Okay, what you got going on in the classroom? What kind of questions would you ask yourselves? What would be an effective thing to ask? And again, maybe some of our more experienced teachers, you guys will have maybe already some specific questions that that you go to all the time for a reflection, say, upon classroom management. How did I act during the class? And that's perfect. That's a great question. That's perfect. Why I mentioned about, things are contagious as instructors and as educators. It's contagious and it spreads to our learners. So that's a good point. What did I use to engage learners? Yeah, okay. What do you associate, okay, with, you can add in yes. Okay, what else? What else would you ask yourself regarding classroom management? What did I learn from the session that I did not know before? Okay, what techniques can we use to motivate students? Yeah, okay, good. These are good questions. And, here is a few other questions too that I have just put onto for a list as well here. Things like, did I give my student opportunities to make their own choices? Do I know my students outside the classroom? Could pre-teaching my expectations or developing rules or procedures maybe help solve some of the problems that I have in my classroom? And think about, is the relationship that I have with my students helping or hindering, hurting, their ability to learn? Okay, so there's other categories too, and and this helps with more effective, reflective teaching practices, is knowing, what to ask yourself, self, what are you going to say to yourself? And so this helps. And I have a list of a few other questions as well too. For instance, like assessment and grading. I know lots of people are always asking themselves, you're always thinking about assessment and what could you do differently? How can you assess better? What did you assess on? And again, you can look at some of the questions that I have here, such as, how can I know my students are learning? What about evidence? That's always a good question to ask yourselves. Do all the students benefit from this learning method or activity? Who doesn't? And who does? Okay, why? So these are good questions as well to think about asking yourself. And as well as I mentioned about professional development, and reflection is a good time where you can focus on aspects of professional development and teacher-to-teacher type of engagement. So maybe these are questions that even some of our experienced teachers, maybe they don't think of during a reflective session, or when they do have time to reflect. Think about things like, in what ways can I support my colleagues in their students' learning? Outside of your classroom, as a learning community. Okay. Of course, what aspects can I still improve my teaching? What's stopping me from improving these aspects? And also, do my actions as a teacher show that I take pride in my work? And that's an important question. So, I've been talking about reflective practices for teachers, and, it's important to have, for our students and our learners. And I mentioned before about a model, and that I do want to share with everybody here. Looking at the time, I do want to pass her to Gulnur pretty soon. So let me go ahead and share with you guys the model that I want to. Actually, I feel like the model is something that's not just for students and your learners, but can be used as well as for your own reflective teaching practices, and as well as maybe just other aspects within your adult life. You can actually use this model too. Okay. So, when we are talking about student reflections, why is this so important? There's certain things like the significance. It helps them to see the importance of their learning process, actually recognizing that process, being able to identify aspects of how they're learning, being able to come up with solutions and strategies, being able to improve and increase their motivation, as well as, again, breaking things down and analyzing it. And this is also one of the important aspects too, is that so learning won't be content driven. And that's also very important. You know, Students really should focus in on, how to learn and how to continue to be learners. And lifelong learning, we only can be with them for so long as an educator. Just memorizing content, just being content driven, it doesn't help in any kind of critical thinking or any kind of cognitive development. Critical thinking stems from just taking a break, pausing, reflecting, and just focusing on, how you are learning and why you are learning those things. So it's less about memorizing and more about the how and the why. So the 4 levels to help give yourself a much more holistic point of view, which I feel would really help your students and your learners reflect much more effectively. And the 4 levels basically are very simple. I'm sure you probably thought about this. Not really reinventing the wheel here, but I'm just trying to put things into kind of perspective here, because I see a lot of people that focus on just results when it comes to reflection. And typically, as teachers, we all know that often, a lot of the times, things don't go as planned. It happens all the time, let's be honest. And it's hard to get past that negativity, like I mentioned before. So, with these 4 levels of before, during, after, and going forward, it can really help you get a much more holistic point of view. I'll try to basically give you the gist of what I mean by these 4 levels here. So when you think about it, level 1, the student before learning, they really want to focus here on their feelings. Of course, prior knowledge, but it's not just about knowledge. It's more so, it's like 80-20, leaning towards feelings, their preferences, their assumptions, any biased opinions that they have about that content or that topic. Okay, and that's really important because it's going to give the basis for the reflection. It will give them something that they can compare to later on. The second level, of this more holistic approach focuses on the how. So we're talking about the during parts, okay? For the student, this level of reflection will allow them to become more familiar with, how they learned. We're talking about how they interacted with maybe with their partner in group projects, finding out what they were comfortable with in that learning process. What would they change in that learning process? Things that they enjoy, challenges that they have. So not focusing on the what, not a list of what they learned, but how they were learning things. Now, the third level is, the after part. And again, it's easy to focus on just what you learned, and you want to, your learners should go beyond that and focus on the why and not the what. Because when they can understand why they learned about this topic, why did they learn this type of language, why did they learn the subject specific vocabulary, why were they improving, communicative skills, because relevancy can equal motivation. As adults, we all know that if we see something's important, we're going to be more motivated. If we can understand the relevancy of something, it means more to us. And this is true. We're humans. This is like our human nature. Okay. And the very last level is very simple. So now you're taking what you learned and applying it elsewhere. Again, the relevancy is important in the last stage because if they can make sense of it, why they learned this, it's going to be easy for them to apply it to different scenarios in the future. Again, so relevancy is key. This is where a lot of the real strong analytical type of critical thinking skills take place in the fourth level, where they synthesize and basically they're trying to use this going forward. This gives, again, a much more holistic point of view. Because students had a beginning part, they also can compare that to after instead of just only focused on results. So again, if you try to connect the dots with this kind of approach, it's good because, again, it's not just results or outcome focused. It helps them get past negativity because they're not just only focused on what didn't go right or what went wrong. Again, by looking in the before, thinking about the during, the after, and going forward, much more critical thinking is being used, deeper application of going forward, how they can use this. And it's balanced because they understand their feelings before they started learning something, and they can see what they've learned after. So it creates for a much more balanced comparison, which is a better way to see growth. Okay, so that's basically what I wanted to share with you guys. Again, was this little model. Again, it's not something it's not a fancy model, but honestly, it's effective because it's a much more holistic approach. And that's how I like to approach any kind of reflective practice, whether it's for teaching, learners, or anything in life, is the holistic approach. Okay, so thank you again for your guys' time. And I'm going to go ahead and quickly pass over to Gulnur, our next invited guest speaker, and she's going to continue the discussion here about reflective practices and focus on some things that she's experienced in her career as well too. So Gulnur, thank you again for joining us, and it's going to be all yours.
Um, okay, good evening. Hello, everyone. And thank you so much, August, for inviting me to be as a speaker at this webinar. And I think that I'm glad to share with some experiences. And now you gave very informative presentation. I just have to add maybe a few examples from my practice. So effective reflective practices for English language teaching. One of the pedagogical principles of development learning is the principle of activity. Yeah, and if you want your students can be active, he should realize the purpose of the teaching. It's very necessary, and the necessity if his every action is conscious and understandable. And in my practice, I usually use some digital methods of reflection. I think that we are all visual learners, and we all have different teaching methods, teaching styles, but a picture is worth 1,000 words, I want to say. That's why in my practice, I usually use some digital resources. I will share. So we can divide into some classifications. So reflection of mood and emotional state, reflection of activity, reflection of the content of educational material. So, and we can use also tools to support reflective learning. For example, learning journals, diaries, logbooks, personal blogs, and audiovisual recordings. I can say that we use it every day. Visual representations, mind maps, diagrams, sketches. And in this purpose, we use different digital resources. For example, we every day use Canva. If you know, This is a very great tool for learning, for giving feedback, giving reflection. So educators can use it to present some materials to students, also for giving some instructions, feedback, reflection also in a visual manner, and students can use it to articulate new concepts in a clear and intuitive way. So can I share with my some files? It's here. So you can use also site and also a mobile application. This is in Russian, but you can use English language in this. You can change language. So there are some different types of templates that you can choose. You can change, for example, this one. Yes. So in this case, you can also add your feedback, your reflection. Also, you can add some pictures, some videos in this case, and you can change everything here. Yes, you can change your text, and it's very interesting to use for also students and also for teachers too. And you can share with your created work, and you can use it in free. With help of Canva, you can just easily give feedback to students. For example, if I let them watch some film according to my theme and write some review of this film, I ask them to use the Canva, and they can insert some pictures, episodes, to add some episodes from that film that they watched. And they think that they can give constructive opinion. And also we created some sites, not so, just a minute, created site from Google. And in this case, we can add all our reflections which we created by Canva. Here, for example, we've watched some kind of films. They gave their reflections, their feedback, and we can download here. And every time we can look through, change something. So this is our little site for debate, for book trailer, for some competitions, for some projects, and we can use it in our lesson. So the next is word wall. I think every teacher know and actively use it in their classroom. And also storytelling method. In this case, we use different resources. I can share after this presentation. Maybe you can contact if you have some questions according to some methods or techniques of reflection, feedback, and so. And I want to share also share with reflection sheets. There are some ready-made reflection sheets. For example, I every day use this site. This is storyboard template. You can download, you can use it, you can print. So you can use it every day. Also, and we use this one. This reflection sheet. There are some different types of sheets. Yes, you can also, for example, we can open one. Yes, this is very some ready-made templates. Okay, and also we use this site for reflection. There are some ready worksheets, or you can create your own worksheet here and to share with your students. And it's very interesting. It's very convenient way if you teach in online. Yes, and offline we use other methods. For example, we can give them some checklists, storyboards, And just a minute. No, this one, I think. Yes, reflective screen. Usually at the end of, you can also, okay, usually at the end of the lesson, a summary is summarized at a discussion of what they learned and how they worked. And everyone evaluates their contribution, and they can continue these phrases. Today I have known about what. It was interesting or wasn't interesting to me. It was difficult or not difficult. I did some exercises to some of this theme, and I have understood or not understood. So, but basically I use ready-made worksheets and digital resources. It's a very convenient way, and it's very effective methods, I think. So you gave August, you gave a lot of information. I've just shared with my some experiences. If our teachers have some questions, I can ask, and I can leave my number, my some accounts that they can contact, and to be in touch. So I have finished it. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, participants, yeah, you guys, please, feel free to put questions into the chat. Again, we would love to hear from you guys, questions that you have. So again, any questions? Any questions for Gulnur? Or I mean, even any questions as well for me as well too. If you have any questions, maybe something about that I talked about before, or anything else that questions you'd like to ask, feel free.
The one question was about working in Zoom. What exactly would you want to know to work in Zoom? I think every teacher can use briefly and to use all tools of Zoom. What exactly would you want to know? Halima Kalanova, she asked about working in Zoom. No questions?
Trying to see, we have questions. I see a question here about where can I find the recordings of these webinars? Well, that's a real great question. So that way, webinars, you can find this webinar, like previous webinars that I did as a virtual English language fellow during last academic year. You can find all these kinds of webinars uploaded to the Kazakhstan American Corners YouTube channel. So that way, through the YouTube channel, you can find a lot of great webinars. I know last academic year, I think I put on a few different series, as long as some other special type of things like on IELTS and other topics and things as well. So you can find all these webinars through the Kazakhstan American Corners YouTube channel. Maybe actually, Asiel, if you would maybe be so kind, maybe you can kind of show it to our viewers, because that is a great place and source for information.
Yeah. Also, our participants, I think, can share with their experience what tools, what methods they usually use in their classroom, in their lessons. For example, Zainab wrote that writing blogs is a great idea to use as a reflection. Yes, I agree with you here. And also in this way, you can also use Canva, and the second application, I don't remember. I will write later. So what else?
also, if anybody has any suggestions as well, again, I'm a big supporter of teacher-to-teacher engagement. This is a great platform forum for us to be able to share our practices as well. So if anybody has any suggestions about maybe other resources, activities, methods, approaches that they have with reflection for their learners, for themselves as educators, please feel free to put those into the chat as well.
And Taniva wrote some question according to Speaking Club. Can schoolgirls or boys to join to some free English speaking club? Maybe online, can you list such?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, through American Corners, there are a few actually various online discussion clubs. Now it kind of depends some regional areas, because again, we're a pretty our audience comes from all across Kazakhstan. So some regions across Kazakhstan in the American Corners, there are offline face-to-face discussion clubs, but there are always as well virtual discussion clubs, things that we also run through American Corner Makerspace Nur Sultan as well. We can always share some of that information. Maybe Asiel, maybe if you had a couple of maybe some things coming up for the virtual discussion clubs that we have, you can always share that with some of our participants. Maybe you can put into the chat, or you can tell them.
Okay, can I share with my information too, if you allow? We have also some little speaking club. We have special chat, and they are members from 150 countries from all over the world. We can meet twice or 3 times a week in Zoom and discuss different topics. And also, if you want to join, so you can contact me. So there are no questions. The question is, where can I find the recording of these webinars? It's to you.
Yeah, I think we'll get these up here shortly, and also the past webinars as well to get those uploaded to the YouTube channel for Kazakhstan American Corners. They will be uploaded in the near future. We'll get those updated for everyone here. Let's see here. So let's go ahead here, to actually, before I also want all of our many wonderful participants here to be able to take a group photo, since we do have some time here to go ahead and take a group photo. So that ways, Gulnor, I think if you can, I think you're still sharing your screen. If you can break off, in that ways, Asiel, maybe then you can actually be the one to take some screenshots of all of our many wonderful participants. So participants, please go ahead, turn on your cameras. It's all right if you got, you got your cat, your dog on your lap, you got your son, your daughter, it's no problem, okay? Go and turn on your cameras, everyone, so we can take a group photo, and let's do something kind of cool pose that we can show. Because why? Because we're English teaching professionals, and we are the coolest. So maybe give a thumbs up or a peace sign or a heart, for professional development.
Hello. Dear organizer, thank you very much for this wonderful webinar. Yes. I posted a link to LinkedIn event, and I do hope to see you here, because it's the first time we analyze what's happened in Central Asia. Why not so many research papers? Why so not rare scientific papers we share among us? I am Karima Azimova. You can find me easily at and somebody from Kazakhstan is in my Telegram group. It's American Corner or some I don't know, but it's very active people, yes. And please find me at LinkedIn and my event. I would like to get somebody as speakers at my LinkedIn webinar. Maybe you, dear August, please. Yes, the topic is very, very interesting. What happened? And the soil of great people like Al-Khwarizmi, father of algebra, father of algorithm, and medicine genius Avicenna. Okay, why we are not so active? Why the world doesn't know us respectively? It's a reflection too. Okay, I have very good also speakers from Britain,
Thank you,
from America, from
Halima,
Webster
thank you very much.
University, and so on. And I waiting somebody from you be my co-speakers, please. I am 70 years old. I do, and will support everyone and being so democratic, shade, and allow us download your beautiful presentation. Thank you very much, Rahmat.
Thank you, Halima. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, everyone, let's go. Let's take that photo now. I'm not sure we took the photo or not. Let's take that photo. Everybody, again, smile, please, for the camera, because we love professional development. Vasil, did we get those pictures?
Just a moment, just a
Okay.
moment.
I mean, I love smiling and I like, yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. And once again, 1, 2, 3. So thank you.
Right.
You.
Excellent. Thank you guys very much. So again, so hopefully, again, you guys enjoyed the webinar. This was the third one. I do want to mention to everyone, you know, last week we had a terrific webinar focused on media literacy. I do want to remind everybody that that many of the speakers were from the association in Actel, Bill and Barnier, and they are putting on that online media literacy conference, which is going to be fantastic, coming up here on the 30th. You can still register for that one, please, so you can reach them on through Instagram, Bill and Barnier, and that way you can still register through their bio, the link on their registration there. So that is a great opportunity coming up for you guys regarding media literacy, education, learning, and integrating that into your teaching practices here in Kazakhstan. Other than that, I'll see everybody then next week. Again, same day, Thursday, same time, 7 p.m. For another cool topic to be named here shortly. All right, everybody. Great to see everyone again. We appreciate what you do across Kazakhstan as English teaching professionals. I love it. I see a lot of passion across Kazakhstan. I'm thrilled to be here. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world. I love it here. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Yep,
Thank you
thanks
so much.
everyone. Bye-bye. Have a nice evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye bye everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.